Welcome to Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal discussion about our beloved series, Star Trek. So we're recording now.
Yeah, I'm recording now too.
Okay, we are recording, so we're gonna clap. 1, 2, 3, clap. Oh, I gotta record the video. Shit, Sean, you're making me nervous. Time vortex. All right,
under pressure.
Hold on. Under pressure. Okay, 1, 2, 3, clap. 1, 2, 3, clap. 1, 2, 3, clap. Audience, we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek, and today we are focused on Star Trek The Next Generation, and today's episode is Season 7, Episode 7?
Who the hell knows? No, I think it's...
Oh, Sean, you're doing such a bad job.
Oh my goodness.
As the co-host.
It's Season 7, Episode 8, I think. I think.
Alright, anyways, it's called Dark Page.
It is, in fact,
Dark Page
it is
or
in
The
fact
Dark
Episode
Page?
7. I was wrong and you were right.
Ooh, yes. Yes, that's why I'm the captain. Get off my bridge.
Dark Page.
Yes, so Dark Page, we are so excited. I don't think I had you... I think, Gary, you've been on every Loxana episode, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you missed one.
I'm not sure. I know there was a Lexan episode when you kind of asked me, but I wasn't available at that time, so I think I must have missed one.
Without you, it's such a bad friend. Would have.
Yes, whatever.
Child Kirsten Dunst in this.
Yeah, I know, Kristen. That's a very good thing to skip to, Sean. Does that mean you're? Like, who wants to give? I want Gary to give the summary. That's my wish.
What was this episode? Okay. Kristen Dunst in there.
To be honest, to like the general audiences, that's how you would sell the episode.
I want Gary to give the official summary. Can you do it in like 3 to 5 minutes, Gary?
3 to 5 minutes? Well, I mean, okay, I can try, but I'm rusty. You know how long eons ago I did a...
We only have Trek on the tube for a limited time, so I want to get to the meat of his thoughts. So go do the summary, and then we'll get his thoughts out on paper, and then we can keep talking when he goes away.
So basically... And you have to add a few things because I didn't make notes of.
I don't even have my notes. I'm gonna go get my notes while you do the summary. I'm not organized. This is not organized.
I had my phone next to myself in the morning and I was like, okay, I'm gonna type a couple of things, and I had
You're
like
wasting
2
my
things
time,
and
Sean.
I kind of messed it up.
Just kidding. Gary, go ahead. Do the summary for the audience.
Basically, the episode is catching up on a conference. I'm not even sure if they are on Beta-Z or something. No, they're not on Beta-Z. But anyhow, there's a delegation from an alien culture. They only talk telepathically, and they project pictures and really intense telepathic communication going on between them. And Loxana is basically preparing them for meeting with the Federation. So she kind of teaches them how to talk, how to express their feelings through normal communication, and and of course we have classic moments here and there with Captain Picard, and then Loxana just being herself, try to find a husband for Diana, which is super adorable, and but the prosperative husband reaches out to Diana, saying that
who's very charming and handsome.
And has a really interesting look when he does telepathics too. I think that's like his signature look, like looking at his face so serious, like a serial killer. But it's amazing.
Oh my god!
more on that later.
That's right.
So he kind of discusses with Diana that, hey, your mom is...
Hold on, pause for a second, Gary, sorry. Sean, stare into my eyes. I'm going to transmit the summary so far psychically. So are you staring into my eyes? Okay, do you have the summary?
Yeah.
Did you get the summary so
Yeah.
far? All right, cool.
I'm
Go
up to
on,
date.
Gary. Keep going.
Okay, and then so basically, Vlaxana shows the line of shows a sign of tiredness and anxiety in a sense, and Diana gets suspicious, and then this dude who I forgot his name, he basically reaches out to Diana saying that, hey, your mom is dealing with something that she's not really ready to show, and there's something just dark inside that causes her the problem, and later on it turns out that thing that she keeps away from everyone, that's basically causing her problems, and so Diana gets permission from the captain to get this sort of telepathic link built up between the two person, and Diana find out quite a few interesting facts about her
Very
mom.
reminiscent of Star Trek 3 when the High Priestess of the Vulcan do the thing with the Katra, but it's of course a different.
It's a different twist, but so something similar happens in this regard, and they actually find out that Diana had a sister who passed away, who died way before that Diana was actually able to process that, hey, there was another person who was my sister, and Kestra, and it was a really just like a touching episode in a sense, in many ways, and as both of you know, that Lwaxana Troi is my all-time favorite character from any of the Star Trek shows, like, yeah. So is that wraps it up?
I think, yeah, but like what I think, yes.
I probably missed a lot of things, but I think that's it mainly. I mean, we've discovered.
I was trying to think. I was like, no, you did it. You actually nailed it, and you did it in 3 to 5 minutes. And it gave Sean time to prepare because he came unprepared. He didn't have.
I got
his
my notes now.
I mean, if you really want to get the bare bones, like couple of.
Oh, did you look it up? Do you know that song? Do you know it?
Yeah, I know it. I don't know whose song. I've heard it.
All right, will you do us a favor? I know we only have a limited time with you, but for the ASMR audience, can you sing it a lullaby? Here's the dad on the tube moment.
No, I will not sing it. I know just those 2 lines.
It was beautiful.
I know those 2 lines because that's what they sing in the episode. But I think maybe subconsciously I've learned the song because I've heard it in this episode.
Well, your version of it made my eyes a little watery, I have to admit, because
come on.
It reminded me of Troy's dad, who we get to meet in this episode. Finally, after all this time, we see that we are reminded that he was a Starfleet officer. He was wearing his uniform in that
The Wrath of Khan uniform.
What do they call it?
It's
the gigantic maroon, the monster maroon is what it's referred to. The monster.
This episode
maroon
starts off. You think it's going to be just another mental rape episode? Because dude's fucking creepy, right? Like throughout the entire episode, he looks like the villain.
They're nice. They're actually
episode,
nice people,
the
but
villain, right?
the way they communicate is very creepy. It is true.
But he gets all
he's all like a little bit. Yeah.
He gets all intense, right? Why does he do that? Does he have to do that? Anyway, you think he's the villain for the entire thing. It's just another mental rape episode. But then it gets to it, like its climax, if you will, and it's just so much emotional, things happening. It's intense.
Storycraft wise, I don't know if that's a thing, if I made that up just now, but storycraft wise, this episode is a masterpiece in my eyes. And I know I'm giving away my.
I think what drags it. I think to the detriment of this, what drags down this episode is the fact that we've had so many mental rape episodes before this one, so it kind of breaks down the big.
Troy is always.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It kind of breaks down the beginning of this episode.
Attacks.
You kind of think, oh, we're doing this again. You're kind of over it, but then you realize that they're going in a different direction, and it's fine. But originally, you think that this dude's being terrible in some way. He's affecting Lwaxana or whatever.
It was scary because the first time you're watching it, you're wondering if those people are evil, if that guy in fact is evil, and it is.
I'm still convinced he's evil.
Of course, we know the outcome.
Yeah, that's a really interesting with that figurine because, like, he has peaceful intentions to do everything, and he's just like genuinely learning. But his pure look just gives you this feeling that that he's like a serial killer.
Oh my goodness!
He's joining the Federation to learn about it. That's what he's doing.
Do you think these characters will come back in Picard then?
No,
like,
no one's gonna do their ugly faces again.
Are
with
they
the,
psychic
with
assassins?
The bubbly
or?
head thing? No, thanks. Leave it be. We need the wormy things from season 1 though. We need them to come back. I don't know why they gave up. Well, they got shot in the face.
Because you can't defeat the Federation as long as you can't defeat the Federation as long as Picard. There's always a Picard involved. This is gonna turn. We're gonna go from Star Trek to Picard. It's a whole new genre. And I just want, while I have Sean Gary, I apologize for going way off track, but this weekend feels like Christmas to me because I get the two of you to hang out with, first of all, in this official capacity. That's like a huge coup. But we got a new episode of The Mandalorian. We got The Expanse Season 4. The whole thing just dropped, which I could do a podcast all on just the first 2 episodes. It was magnificent so far. And then, there's all Star Wars is coming next week. There's like so much hype.
I'm going to be a spoiled child.
There's also a lot of tragedy in the world. I realize that. Gary pointed out things are not so great on the other side of the pond. Sean's completely unconcerned with that because as a Canadian, he's super super secure in the Great North up there.
Hey, I'm not a fan. I know this isn't a political show, but I'm personally not a fan of Trudeau. But then, as it stands, I am not a Canadian citizen, so I don't count. I don't matter. I'm not concerned. I am concerned.
You do matter. You are a human.
But I have no vote yet. So next election, I might be a citizen and I might be voting. So I might be able to vote for someone.
I adopted citizenship in the United States, so I count. I can vote, and I intend to vote, and I'm very excited about that opportunity.
Ooh.
It's the way you change the world.
Exactly.
Anyways,
same here. Same here. I'm looking forward to be able to vote one day.
Yes.
Can you vote in Hungary?
I could,
can you
but
vote remotely?
I never.
As a United States citizen, I can vote from wherever if I happen to be, like in Europe during election period.
That of course.
I can vote.
But
I could, but I never voted by.
Yeah, but
I never
honestly,
voted by.
I can vote in New Zealand and I can vote in France, but I don't.
And you don't?
I don't, because I don't live there.
But you can follow the politics. You can help.
I know, but still, I find it very hypocritical to leave a country, live your entire life somewhere else, but still continue to vote and give your input on how that country there should be run. This is a personal view. I know that some people think differently, but if you leave a country, and you not deny it, but you say I don't want to be there anymore. I don't want to be involved with it. To still kind of vote from across the ocean seems a little ridiculous to me, personally.
I think I think it's okay. I mean, eventually we'll be like the United Federation of Planets, where on Earth there's no this borders. Or that. Everyone,
no boundaries.
There's no border. There's no boundaries. There's like regions that are still named after the old boundaries, but they're not necessarily
old Europe.
There's no. It's not
the old states.
I mean, Paris. Picard refers to himself from being from France, etc. But we strive to that, and I think voting from afar and staying in touch with your home country's politics is important. I renounced my citizenship to Pakistan because I had to become a full citizen of the United States, and I'm happy to have done it.
Really?
Did you? So I can't vote in those elections, but I do still follow what's going on.
You can't keep your both nationality?
Yeah.
In a sense?
No, I adopted residency in the United States when I was like an infant. I was just a child. Like my parents, so I have a lot more standing as an American than I do as a Pakistani.
But you could have maybe kept
that make
both
any sense?
both citizenships, couldn't you?
Well, as a kid, I could only pay attention to one country's politics at the time. We didn't have the
Fair
internet
enough.
when I was a kid. It was very hard.
I will have 3 soon, hopefully.
But anyways, we went way off track
Yes.
from this discussion.
Let's get back to the good guy, which is not really a bad guy,
That was
but
our
feels
political,
like a bad guy.
our political moment on Starfleet.
We don't get political here. This isn't about politics.
We never really do. That was like a first. I apologize, audience, if I've offended anyone.
Same.
My
Well, you
policies.
can just cut this out if you want to.
Yeah, actually, I can edit.
You can just edit
Oh
it.
my
out.
You're not
gosh.
going to do it, though. It's too good. It's gold.
I know. I won't. But you guys don't care if I don't edit, right? You're cool with that,
I don't, whatever.
Gary. You'll.
I mean, you're the
you'll
captain.
confirm? I am the captain. Je suis le capitaine.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
Je suis le grand capitaine. Grand. How do you say
You
admiral
speak
in French?
amiral. I'm pretty sure it's a French word. Amiral.
Amiral.
You speak French like Q speaks French.
Okay.
Okay, the loan must be drawn here now.
Sean, what did you think of this episode of Star Trek?
I love
Next
the
Generation?
elevator guy. I think he's crack up.
The one who-
I think he's amazing.
He's a returning character. I think I've seen him in different
Is he really?
episodes.
Do they have multiple
so.
elevator guy? Anyway.
No, the guy. I think that guy actually appeared in DS9 at some point.
Really?
His face is familiar.
That's interesting to think that multiple people were transferred to Deep Space Nine with O'Brien or with Worf. Like it wasn't just Worf that did the
think it's-
transfer, or O'Brien. There's
I
like a
think
bunch of
it's-
people that crossed over. That's
I
pretty
think
cool.
it's probably. I mean, wasn't just O'Brien who left the Enterprise at that time because they needed the reinforcement from Starfleet.
yeah.
So
Oh, that's very true. They
From
need
a
to
leadership,
fill up
from
Deep
a-
Space
yeah.
Nine.
yeah.
From a leadership perspective, it also makes sense. These are the best of the best. The Enterprise is the flagship of the Federation, and so having Chief O'Brien be the chief of DS9 is like a pretty prestigious thing for Cisco.
Do you think they
know what I
asked
mean?
him, like,
it's a really
O'Brien,
cool
like,
thing.
who do you want to take? He's like, I want to take him. I want to take
I
that
think
guy.
like it works
the guy
that
from
way
the elevator.
to a degree. I've never been in the I've never been in the military. Starfleet resembles like the military to a great degree. So I'll have to ask my military consultants about this. But my understanding is
Your
that it works that way.
military
Is that like
consultants.
you can be.
Oh.
You can be reassigned to another post, or you can volunteer for reassignment. So maybe the first step is like Starfleet says, all these ships we need, like let's say we need 100 Starfleet officers and crew on Deep Space Nine. So I would pull that from the best ships in my fleet. I would put like 10%. I would offer, hey, either volunteer 10% or we'll take, we'll reassign some
Especially
people.
considering
That's
it
your
was a
chance.
very volatile situation.
That's your chance to get rid of people. Mr. Wolf, I think it's time you served upon Deep Space
Oh my god, do you
Nine.
think Worf
for a
was like
little
it was
while.
like an Edward situation? It's like this, Mr. Worf, this isn't working out.
This, you don't appreciate what you have here on the Enterprise, so I'm going to send
I've
you
heard
to
make comments
Terrak Nor. I
about
mean
my
Deep
hair.
Space Nine. Then you can pop in from time to time when we're having grand adventures out in space.
Every time
We'll let you know.
the Klingons come
We'll
in,
let you know.
we have to do a detour. Every time we have to go off and save the Empire. Mr. Wolf.
There's another Deep Space Nine connection, not just Worf, but Loxana herself has one of her best episodes.
Oh, she
another
becomes
one
a
which-
puddle.
on
No,
Deep Space
Odo
Nine.
becomes the puddle.
She doesn't
Odo
become
becomes
a
the puddle.
in her lap. It's a very motherly.
It is a
thing.
touching
She's
episode
the
as well.
It is a touching episode as well. It's clear by now that I think on Starfleet Boy we can declare, and I think Gary will be happy with this, that the character of Loxana Troy, portrayed by Majel Barrett, is the mother of Star Trek, as far as I'm concerned. Like she's not just.
Well, she being
it's not-
considered.
is it not
Lorel?
That she's the mother of the Klingons. Lorel is the mother of the Klingons. I'm talking about.
Yes, no, I agree.
Not like
she is the
she's the mother of Star
mother
Trek.
of Star Trek.
Yes.
Well, she being
But
called the first lady of
just
Star Trek for a long
Loxana, I mean,
time.
Majel Barrett herself, right?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm talking
Yeah.
about but in
Majel
a way,
Barrett.
in a sense, like Loxana is Majel. Like I think there's not like I know that she's performing, but it's like I feel like she gives so much of herself.
She's
It's like
one and
Whoopi Goldberg. She's like
Yes.
Whoopi Goldberg. Like she's not playing Guinan. She's basically
exactly.
playing herself.
But that's
Right.
what we want. That's what we need.
Exactly. Like you don't
We do
need
it.
someone faking themselves. Just be yourself, and then they do a fantastic job just being themselves.
I am
And she
now
carries
saddened
so
by the
much.
fact
I mean, like, this is.
we've never had a Lwaxana and Guinan interaction.
I know, because I
Yeah.
didn't remember, and I didn't realize that Guinan left. Like, she didn't leave, but she was, they just wrote
that's
her
a short
off.
trick,
What's that?
people.
No. Don't do that. No, I mean, with all due respect to anyone, and I know a lot of people said that about Pike as well, that, once Jeffrey Hunter is not here, no one gonna do a
Yeah,
good job
fair
with
enough.
that. But with Lwaxana and Guinan, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
But you can have something exciting, which is a Majel Barrett connection. Una and Guinan can certainly meet. And
I don't want it.
That would be
Not as good.
No.
Wrong.
Just forget it. Forget it.
Wow, you guys, this is a tough crowd. Don't mess with Majel. I love it.
No, just leave her alone.
If it's not the original, it's not worth it.
She's
Uninstall.
perfectly fine where she is.
But really, on a deep level, as an adult and having experienced, like, we were talking in our previous episode about the passing of, like, these talents. Majel Barrett is a talent who has passed. She's been gone for a long time, but she was also the most direct connection with Gene Roddenberry for a long time, because obviously she was his spouse, his wife, and they were very involved with Star Trek together from a production and creation and ideation, and, like, she literally is the mother of Star Trek in the sense that Gene
Kind of
Roddenberry is the father of Star
Kind of
Trek.
disappointed that it's not her voice that we hear, like, even today as the computer. I feel like they could have at least tried to take someone that could, like, maybe impersonate her or, like, reuse words and what have you. I think there was a way to make it, because I would have loved to have her voice just persist throughout all of the Star Trek shows. Just keep it her voice,
The 2009 Star
A
Trek
friend
one
of
was the
mine
last appearance for her voice, apparently. That was the last time just before she passed away. That was the last time when she provided the voice for the computer, but I'm not sure. It really would have been nice. It would have been nice. And I really want Google Home to sound like Lwaxana Troi.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is I heard rumors. A friend of mine brought this to my attention. I don't know where he got the information from, but it really struck me, because
His military
if it's not
consultants.
real, it should be real. Yeah, my military consultants. If it's not real, it should be real. But we can actually approximate Majel's voice in a digital form, because there's so much there's so many examples of her speaking that a computer can actually create a Majel Barrett Siri or Google Home, as you say. The technology is that we have the technology to do it. So I hope someone does do
I think it would be nice to have her voice just continue on through all of Star Trek forever and ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I guess a Roddenberry would have to give that permission.
Maybe.
So I hope that it
I
can
don't know
happen.
how that happened. In case, because I will have to leave in 10 minutes or so.
Excellent.
I enjoyed this episode.
I hear the baby. She's waiting for you.
I think the episode had a bit
The
of a
little-
slow start. And these aliens, especially this dude, gets a little intense with his acting. The actor maybe took the death gaze a little too far. So sometimes you're kind of on the fence with, like, is he, but it is a very, very touching episode. And it brings so much to, like, the backstory of both Deanna and Lwaxana. And it's awesome because it kind of ties into Picard, as we now know. Star Trek Picard, because there's Kestra, there's a character, probably, most likely, the child of Deanna, called Kestra. So yeah, I really like this episode.
We hear her voice in the trailer, if I'm not mistaken.
We don't know if it's her or not, but yeah.
Right, but that's what everyone's hoping, is that the character is Kestra, right? Okay, I see.
The idea is there's a character called Kestra in the show, and we now know that Riker and Deanna have a child, which is a girl. It's like fair to assume that Kestra is the child of
It's almost a slam dunk assumption,
Yeah,
actually.
I mean, it would make sense.
I get it.
But I don't know. It's a good episode. I enjoy it.
It rocks. To add to what you were saying, it rocks kind of our notion of their relationship too. Like, it's just as much a revelation for Deanna as it is for us. Like, Deanna had no idea growing up that she had a sister. I mean, Loxana didn't just. I mean, imagine it was such a traumatic thing to her that she actually stopped talking about it. Mr. Homn saved that one picture, but it looks like she destroyed all the pictures of Kestra. Like, she was just destroyed. Her grief was so horrifying, and I you know, it makes sense. But can you imagine finding out, like, you know, that you had an older sibling that passed away and you didn't know about it till you were like in your 30s, which is where I assume Deanna's at. Maybe she's in her late 20s here. So that was pretty crazy. I remember being really impacted by that, and I used to wonder. I would ask my mother. I'd be like, "Mom, was there another Skywalker?"
No. Deanna's very passionate about her trees in this episode. She's all about those trees. Like, she's doing like she's offering like a guided tour or whatever of the Enterprise, showing these people around.
In that one
and she takes
scene,
them to like
right.
the Arboretum, and she's all like, "Oh, this tree, you'll find it very fascinating." And then she goes on and on.
So Bolar is free. It's very, very exciting.
Exactly. She goes on about like this tree forever. What's going on?
She does. I remember that part. That's actually the scene that like kind of struck me the most, because like my mother, you know, in Starfleet Boy we sometimes talk about personal things, but my mother hasn't had the greatest year health wise, and so when Loxana hits the ground in that scene, I was so emotional this time as an adult, because I was thinking, you know, of course, as one can't help it, one relates their own life to fantasy. It's a great way to do that, and so I was like, no.
And it's very well written too, because
it's very emotional.
I don't know. She falls in the water, and as the audience member, you don't know what's going on, right? Because you're not like, we've seen it multiple times.
We know that Kestra drowned.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. You learn in the episode. You learn after the fact that Kestra drowned, and that's what kind of triggered this intense emotional response in Loxana, like a panic attack or whatever it was. She fell on the ground. No, it's good.
Loxana has been holding the secret, the psychic aliens. Did we remember their names? Because I can't. I didn't write it down.
I don't either, but let me just...
The not mental rapists.
Right, no. They are not, even though... Oh my gosh. Even though they didn't ask for consent the first time. He didn't ask for Deanna's consent to mind connect.
Okay,
he just kind of looks at her.
Weird from the get-go. Like, let's be honest, right?
They're not... He does... There is an explanation in whatever you call it, in universe, that he gives, which makes sense to me. He says that they have never connected with others psychically before, and that among themselves they're completely open 100% of the time. The permission doesn't need to be asked.
I completely understand. Just on a very... This might not be exactly the same, but like in France, people greet each other by kissing each other on the cheek, right? They do kisses on the cheek. This is just how it is. If you were to take someone that's lived their entire life in like a kind of small village in France, they've greeted everyone that way all of their life, and then you would like, for the first time in they're 60 now, the first time you present them with like an American, chances are you're gonna go and greet the American in the same way, and the American might be surprised, like what is this, right? It's just a difference in cultures and a different in habit, and it's not necessarily a mean thing. It's just that we find this a little more intrusive because it's our mind, or Deanna's mind.
Right.
But this is how they communicate. This is their
right.
normal, right?
But he has to learn about privacy from Deanna in that scene, which tells you a lot about their culture, because he's like, there's this part of your mother's what did they call it? It was a cool name, the psychic.
It's the metaconscious, I think.
The metaconscious, yeah. So in the metaconscious universe, we'll call it that. You know, like he can see among his own people, there's no blockages, there's no darkness, as he refers to it. But this is such a traumatic thing for Loxana that he perceives it as a darkness. Like the way he sees the universe, perhaps, or perceives reality is this like light of thoughts, like energy or whatever. But when he looks at Loxana, he sees a darkness. And she first says, "Oh, that's privacy." And he's like, "Okay, I accept that." But then this is deeper than just privacy. It is related to privacy, but it's like, this is a secret in a sense, right? A dark secret as we, it's not to be cliche. And Deanna finally gets it when he mind melds with her. He eye melds with her. Because you have to admit the eye acting was really good. Especially...
Acting. I think it was a little intense. I think it was a little much, right?
But that's what it's supposed to do. I think it's supposed to make you feel
intimidated,
intimidated, yeah, and uncomfortable. I think it did its job,
maybe,
in a way.
Maybe.
I mean, there's that music. Why do they put that sound, that intense sound?
But that's to represent. There's just so much going on. I think it's just too much to handle. Oh my goodness! All right.
What do you give this?
My cue.
Are you still having to go in like a minute?
That's my cue to leave. You're screaming into the mic, doing the sound.
Do you still only have a minute?
Yes.
Can you give your rating, sir, before you go, and then Gary and I will give ours later. We won't tell you. You'll have to watch. You'll have to watch till the end of the discussion.
I'll give it a 7.5.
Interesting.
I think they could have.
I disagree, but I'm not going to tell you how.
You know what? I'll give it an 8. I'll give it a light 8.
You will?
I'll give it
a light 8. There you go.
I'll give it a light 8 because I think the performances from people that weren't strange eye making dude were pretty solid. I have nothing against this guy, by the way.
Excellent.
If he listens to this, you're great. You can come have tea, right?
Wow.
But
I've never even gotten a tea invitation.
Well, you get halal
great.
burgers.
That's true.
Can we?
I want everything though. I want the tea too.
I want it all.
Full service.
No, I'll stand by an 8. So yeah.
All right. I had a question for you. I don't know if it's too personal.
But if it's too personal, just hang up.
Okay. Well, what lullaby do you remember being sung to when you were a child from your parents?
I don't remember any lullabies being sung to me.
Oh.
No, I don't have lullabies. I remember books that we used to read.
ABBA? Was ABBA playing in the background, perhaps, in your childhood? Oh.
My mom liked ABBA.
My mom liked ABBA too.
But she didn't play it as a lullaby. Gimme a man. No, it's not. I don't know. Anyway.
Money.
Alright. See ya. Have a
Mamma mia. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for being on. Alright, so, whoa, we just switched perspectives, Gary. You became huge on my screen.
Well, same goes to you as well. I can see the speck of dust on the Enterprise model now.
I love this model. This is the refit Enterprise. And then you haven't been on, but we also use this one a lot.
Oh, there's the one I sent
me. So this one usually it sits there.
So that's when a rough episode and you have to put a battle damaged Enterprise there.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I haven't been following that, but from now on I will. So we got Sean's thoughts. What did you think of Sean's thoughts?
I think it's reasonable. I think I'm probably gonna go a little bit higher, but that's for understandable reasons.
What was your favorite? You loving Loxana Troy as you do. Is this your favorite episode of her, or do you have is there another one?
I think I love every episode when she's in. I think definitely one of the favorite ones from. I'm not sure if it's season 5 when she goes on with Alexander to the holodeck, and then we see.
Oh, you love that one.
We see René Auberjonois being a bubble, and then they doing the mud bath, and they
Yeah.
It's just a really adorable episode, and we see a lot of interesting emotions from her as well on that episode, because she's not just all the happy and everything. She has some troubles that she has to deal with, in a sense, like, oh, I'm going to tie it into this, to this person, and then, oh, he's not really the fun, but I have to get married because I can't be alone.
She's kind of done with that in this episode. This is the first episode where she doesn't have a romantic interest.
No.
In fact, she's trying to hook up Deanna, which is interesting. I kind of like that it was, for a change, she's like not trying to find herself a husband. Now she's trying to find her daughter a husband, which is really funny.
Yeah.
And it feels relatable.
Yeah. And no, I think this episode is really special in a sense, because you don't really get her fun side out as much. You get a more like a stumbled, a person who stumbles upon life, who has some dark secrets that you, as if you know the character and you kind of follow her path, you don't expect that sort of things to have as a dark page from Lexana, like this magnitude of secret that she basically covered up. Was really heart-wrenching, both watching it from an outsider perspective and for her dealing with this, and it's just beautiful that you kind of start thinking about like the humorous side that she had the previous episode, that basically was like a defense mechanism in a sense, like she was dealing with this, and this is how she was coping with the whole thing, like being so flamboyant and outgoing and just trying to get on with life and seeing the positive things about everything. So it's kind of ties in the character very beautifully in this episode, and it's good, and it's really good to get to know the character a bit more than just how she's adorable in every situation. But that being said, lots of episodes basically covers little bits and pieces of her vulnerability in many ways. I mean, in DS9, when she takes out the wig, takes the wig down, like I'm dealing with this too, or even in that episode when she's like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to marry that person who I haven't seen before, or even the episode when she was falling in love with this person who who eventually has to die because that's the tradition on the society.
That's a great one with David Ogden.
Yeah,
David Ogden Stiers plays that character.
So the character has ongoing like positive and negative sides that we get to see all through the episodes, but this one is just gives you that side that you would never expect from this character. I'm not sure if I made any sense in this one.
No, I was actually just reflecting on what you said, because it was very beautifully put. I think this, to me, what it sounds like you're saying is that like this episode is like a fixed point in space and time for Star Trek. It's
yes.
it's a very important
it's like one of those
moment.
Star Trek Doctor Who moments.
Yeah, but it's a pivotal moment for a lot of characters. Unfortunately, I don't think we explore the idea any further. Like as I recall, after this, like we don't really know the aftermath of the revelation for Deanna. I don't remember her dealing with it, ever, and saying like, "Mother, why didn't you tell me?" Or even just like, "I understand," But I think that it's also okay, because they were in the meta-conscious where you kind of have access to everything. So you go through those emotions like just the fact that Deanna saw the memory happening, when they, and that's a beautiful scene. Well, it's very kind of
Mm.
intense, but I mean, from like a technical standpoint, it's done really beautifully, where you have Deanna watching, and her mother, Majel, is portraying herself as herself. She's portraying a younger version of herself, but as her current self. And I loved it. And so, but I really felt like I could know what it was like to be there in the past when it happened, and you understand why she holds back, because she lost her daughter and her husband. She's a woman who has lost everything, and when she says to Deanna in that one scene, it's so beautiful, where she says, "You are everything you're the only thing I have in the world." And she's right. The only thing of her husband and of her family, it left. Deanna carries all of that hope for the next generation. And so it is beautiful. Sean mentioned that it's possible that their daughter is named Kestra. So it's just, I think, this is one of those episodes that really ties everything together, and maybe things that are not even here yet together.
No, absolutely.
In a beautiful way.
Absolutely. And just thinking about the whole, I don't even know what to want to say. No, but it's really one of those. And what I was thinking about watching the episode this morning, that both from Laxana point of view and both from Major point of view, I mean, that was a bit of a distance between the episode and the passing of Gene Roddenberry as well. But I have a feeling that this somehow, I don't know, just when I'm watching the episode, I didn't get it back then when I watched it first time, but now rewatching it and knowing that, he passed away, and then I'm pretty sure she was dealing with this as well, and in a sense, I mean, going home and you only have your son, but the man who you used to live with is not there anymore. I'm pretty sure that was kind of coming through her performance on that occasion too.
Yeah.
That's just like a side thought.
It's kind of, I'm not a professional actor, but I've performed on occasion on stage, and when I was very young, and in some of my friends' films, home, like little short films, and it was always hard. I remember how difficult it was to deliver a performance that felt authentic or real to myself. And so I'm inspired now as an adult. I don't perform in that manner. I mean, Starfleet Boy is a performance, but of a different kind. But I admire knowing, many performers now as an adult, and enjoying performance so much. I admire Majel Barrett's performance. I love it. It's just one of the great performances in Star Trek, and I hope she was very proud of it. I don't know. I haven't done too much research into interviews or read much about it, but I would definitely, if I were her, I would be proud of that character. I think she created a great Star Trek character in Loxana Troy. Someone who starts out as what you said, which was perfect, starts out as like flamboyant and dismissive and arrogant and bourgeois, and then you see how real
how she's just dealing with those situations that any one of us could deal with. I mean, not just I mean, losing a child, that's the worst thing that anyone can experience, I'm pretty sure. But her
growth is awesome or her character arc, which goes into Deep Space Nine, as we already talked about. And then
no, she's just an amazing character, and I think this episode was not as well needed for her character development, but I think it was a really, really good point, a really good checkpoint on her character development for sure. Unexpected and very interesting to experience.
I know we talked about the aliens, how they seem creepy because of the way they stare, and in particular the actor, and I don't know his name. I have to look it up, which we can do now.
Yeah, I think I'm on.
What was his name? It was Marquis, the character.
Marcus, something like that. And let me just go quickly back here. So he played by Norman Large. Norman Large.
I felt, I definitely felt what you and Sean were talking about, because it is a creepy stare, which is great. So, it does its job. I think that it's good when you get like little moments where your expectations are subverted by using stereotypes and things like that. And like when someone stares at you like this, it's very humans.
but I think
instinctually we're designed to think that that's creepy.
But I think the guy developed his signature look in this episode. Like, if he would ever shows up in a convention, I think that was everyone was asking him like, "Hey, do the face."
Stare at me. I did like this. We are, one of the promises of Star Trek is new worlds and new civilizations, and certainly we get a new kind of culture, civilization, whatever you want to call it, with these characters. And I liked it a lot. I liked how he described they are among themselves. Like the way that their minds are just open and everything's just like interconnected. And of course, it's kind of cool. We didn't know who Kirsten Dunst was when I first saw this episode, because this is like one of her first jobs. But then she of course is in Interview with the Vampire. That's what launched her to fame, and she's done a lot of amazing
she was even Mary
then.
Jane in Spider-Man.
She played Mary Jane in Spider-Man. That's probably her most iconic role, but she's in a lot of great stuff. She's had a great career so far, so I love Kirsten Dunst, and I was really happy to remember that she started out on Star Trek. At least it was a big deal back then to be on Star Trek. But yeah, those new aliens were interesting. There's a book that Humbert reads from, which is a journal by Joshua Chapman. And if you'd like, I can pull it up. It's Joshua Chapman is a fictional teenager.
I know. I remember. I mean, from the beginning when I joined the Starfleet boy ship, I remember the Doctor had this old scripts and everything, and I remember there was a discussion about it as well, like, it would be nice if someone would actually get the whole get in touch with Joshua Chapman, and I think one guy actually did it, and it's available now on Amazon.
Oh wow!
So there's like
so I downloaded it from. I actually bought my copy from the Apple version of the bookstore.
Wow!
So I'm actually flipping through it right now. So yeah, let's give a little plug. Everyone should get this book. It's called A Field Guide to the Aliens of Star Trek. So let's see if these guys were in this episode. So what were they called?
Well, the Cairn, C-A-I-R-N. Bob.
C-A-I-R. Oh, page 178. Okay, let me see. I got the page 178. So let me go to page 178. Okay, so page 178. It's searching now. Or I could type their name in. C-A-I-R-N, right? Cairn. My digital book isn't working. This is why you need a real book sometimes.
Yeah. That's
I
why
found
the Doctor
page.
is
Okay.
invaluable in these discussions.
178. Here we go. I found them. So this is what Joshua Chapman thought of the Cairn. So home planet ? So we don't know what it's called. He gives them 3 stars. I don't know what his maximum stars is. These aliens are super telepaths. Their telepathic abilities have made their brains so strong that it bulges out in big lumps above their ears. That's right, I forgot about that. It looks like brains coming out of the sides.
There's
of
like a little bit of Telosian design.
Exactly.
Going in.
Interesting. Big brain people. They communicate differently than other telepaths. They just shoot a flood of images at each other, and when they do this, they look super intense and pissed off. Also, they have completely forgotten how to talk because their telepathy is so good. So the Federation sends... Oh, that's right. We didn't even mention that. So she's teaching them English, basically, or teaching them how to speak, which is one of your aspirations, by the way. So you're following in the footsteps of your favorite character.
Yeah, that's true. Not just we born in the same day in the same month, a couple of years apart, but doing the same things.
Interesting, very cool. Anyways, but it ends up being too much stress for her. Plus, there is a little alien girl who reminds her of her daughter she had who died, and the shock of it makes her go into a coma. The Cairn also have a power where they can let Troy walk around in her mom's mind. So they do that so Troy can figure out why her mom went into the coma. Once she goes into Loxana's mind, Loxana tries to do everything she can to stop Troy, which is fucking stupid, because if she doesn't get help from Troy, she is going to die. My mom pulls this shit all the time, and it's fucking ridiculous. She just sits here letting her life get worse and worse. And it's like she is trying to punish herself by making her life as horrible as possible, which is a fucked up thing to do, because the only person it really hurts is me. And then eventually I have to do stuff, and then she gets mad at me for doing the stuff that she refused to do. Fuck her.
Wow.
Oh my god, that's awful. It is like her mind is filled with fucking poison.
Wow.
There is a book called Dune. They made a movie version of it too, which is not as good as the book, even though it has Patrick Stewart in it. There are women in the book who are sort of witches, and there is a thing they say: fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death and brings total obliteration. And I think that is perfect, because both with Loxana and my mom, they let little bullshit ruin their lives because they are too scared to deal with it. Wow.
He's...
You know, I cannot disagree with Joshua Chapman.
Wow.
He has a good point, and I love that he brought up Dune in that. So that's a book called The Field Guide to the Aliens of Star Trek. We don't read from it every time, but you can pick up a copy and read from it, audience, if you enjoyed that little bit.
Yeah, no, it was idea to buy it once, but never really got to it. So one day. That being said,
we've been meeting. Oh, go ahead.
Go on.
I was gonna say we've been meeting the Cruz family last season and this season. Like we just met Geordie's mom, and we saw Geordie's dad on screen. We've met, now we've seen on screen what Deanna's father looked like, and I thought that was a very touching scene. And I thought Marina Sirtis was so good at conveying the idea that, imagine she's seeing her father from the closest, as we were saying earlier, how Majel is the closest thing to Jean in terms of their shared knowledge and experiences. Yeah. This is a man, so even though this is a metaconscious version that Loxana created, it's the most accurate version possible, because it's the version of from his wife, from her perspective. So in a sense, Deanna, I think, realizes that she's really meeting an avatar of her father in her mom's metaconscious mind. And it's so touching, because he even says, I don't think we'll ever get a chance to do this again if you leave. And it's so clever. Her metaconscious is powerful. Like, it's really good at like deflecting, people. She's created some really strong reinforcements, if you will. The first step, when Deanna first enters her metaconscious, there was a dog, like a wolf, and it chased her for a little while. And I know it's laughable, but that's what she tried with first.
No, that's
the next thing she tried.
That's gonna be something I want to point out in later on.
Okay. The next thing she uses is Picard, which was really funny, and it didn't work. And then she uses her like final car, like her biggest weapon, which is Deanna's own father. And so I thought that was a beautiful scene, beautifully acted by Marina Sirtis. So tremendous kudos to Marina Sirtis for really making it very personal as well in this episode.
Yeah, I was just reading a little bit behind the scenes fact. I'm not sure if you that's basically more or less the same thing that TNG Companion. A couple of bits and pieces that I found interesting reading this. So Rene Echevarria was told to tone down Makesy's sometimes comical attempts at language. So the way how he was speaking, that apparently was a toned down version of the original attempt. The scene in the go on.
I think the final version, how it appeared on screen, is perfect, because I know that when I traveled through France and Italy, I would have sounded pretty ridiculous. What I was saying in Italian probably sounded very strange or in French to the native speakers. And in a sense, it's kind of beautiful because we're hearing him speak a language for the first time through the universal translator, and then it's also mechanical. They're both
you can hear the sound of some
you can
interesting
hear some
background
kind
noise.
of digital and mechanical thing. So I love the way it was done. It really reminds you that they're speaking for the first time, and if you've ever tried to speak another language and you do it badly, you know it's very real the way that it comes across. So if they toned it down, maybe it was too comical and they wanted to make it more serious, but it definitely came across as real to me.
I think they really definitely find a good balance between how to make it like a childlike, but still like serious. Like, hey, these are like serious grown-up people that want to learn and talk.
Yeah.
No, that was interesting. The wolf, the wolf. We talked about the wolf, and so apparently, based on TrekCore, they say that the actors and the crew weren't allowed close to the trained but still wild wolf used on the set. All the work was done using split screens, and Peter Lauritsen recalls nobody wanted to be there with the wolf except Dan Curry. And
who's Dan Curry?
Dan Curry, he's I think he's one of the supervisor for Next Gen and for.
Okay, gotcha.
And under the supervision of an official from the American Human Association, the wolf growling scene was achieved by baiting the wolf with a piece of raw meat and then pulling it away out of reach.
Oh yeah, that would make me growl too.
Yeah, like I was kind of thinking as well when I was talking, that's a real wolf. That's not a dog. It's a real wolf. So basically, they got the wolf, and then they just green screened the wolf in there, in a sense. So that's like amazing. Like in the 90s, they didn't really have too much but they had groundbreaking special effects, especially in Star Trek. But like pulling that off, it's just brilliant.
I have to admit, to me, it felt like it was on set. So I don't know.
No, I felt it as well. I did not think about that. That's I thought it's a really like a domesticated wolf or something, but apparently it's still a wild wolf.
Well, maybe someone can superimpose Arthur Space Cat over the wolf and make a cute video.
There's one thing that you talked about how Marina Sirtis was brilliant in this episode, and she was even more brilliant because when she was jumping out to space from the corridor, that was actually her. So she didn't stunt double, and she was based on TrekCore. If you can believe everything that says internet tells you that Marina Sirtis completed the jump into space without the need for a stunt double, jumping off a blue screened platform onto air mattresses.
Wow!
So she landed on soft
Good
ground.
for you.
That's awesome, though. Like knowing that.
Wow.
And one more interesting things from this. I mean, there's a few more, but some of them are like quite random. The appearance of Mr Homn, because I think this was the first episode when Mr Homn wasn't on screen with Lwaxana.
On screen.
Yeah.
But Deanna does talk to him, and he does send the the personal items like the journals, Lwaxana's journals, when they want to investigate them. And I think it's interesting because we never actually hear Mr Homn speak, so I wonder it's kind of appropriate that the conversation didn't happen on screen, which is kind of cool.
I think it's kind of the same thing that with Morn. Like everyone was just talking like, oh, Morn is just like, oh, once he starts talking, like that guy never gonna shut up. And we might hear one of his species brothers, his species members in season 3. It looks like there's a character. It looks like there's a Lurian. That's really.
Yes, thank you, a Lurian. That's what they're called. Yeah.
But again, Sean pointed out that like Morn got bold because of the poison that he was carrying all over, the latinum that he was carrying into one of his stomach, and that's why he got a loss of her hair. And then the same character had the same characteristics. So, wonder if that's like a common thing with Lurians, that they carry latinum all over, and in safe places inside themselves.
It would make sense. Maybe Morn started a trend.
or maybe more, and it just like get regenerated every 20 years or something, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm 1,000-year-old now, but I still
Well, we
run.
also don't know. We don't know what the lifespan of a Lurian is, but an Alorian can live at least, we think, for several hundreds of years, like maybe even 1,000 years. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Pretty interesting. That's cool. Good facts. Good job, Gary.
I didn't do anything. I just read the website.
So we heard Sean's rating first, which is unusual because normally you guys like to have my rating. So this is not you can't know for sure if I changed my rating or not. But I give this episode a 10. I just think it's perfect.
I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna give it 10 as well.
Yes. So 2 strong 10s pull his. What did he give it? An 8.
Yeah.
To an average of 9.9
point something.
So we can safely round it up to a full.
I do have to say
9.9.
2 things though. One is the fact that when they talk about the metaconscious mind, Beverly actually gets a bit surprised, and I was surprised that she got surprised because she shouldn't have got surprised that the Beta Z has this sort of part in their brain, because the Beta Z is part of the Federation, and they have their shared library of every single part of every single different people, and Diana is not the only Betazoid in Starfleet, so they should have had the medical records, and the doctors should have been knowledgeable enough to know that. I understand there's like millions of cultures in that West Federation, and you can't keep up with everything, but I was surprised that having Betazoid, and probably not the only Betazoid on board, she wasn't really familiar with that part of the brain. But that's just a side note. I just take it as maybe she just forgot. I mean, we forgot a lot of things during our normal daily life as well that we don't really know. And the other thing, that's just a nitpicking from my side, and it comes down to the HD version, because I didn't notice it in the SD version before. In that scene, when Lwaxana first ends up in the sick bay, Beverly has a pad in front of her, and you can see the scratches on the back of the pad. That's how good the HD version is.
Wow.
There's like 2 or 3 like back little scratches in there.
The only thing I could think of, if I may, in defense of Dr. Crusher, the only thing I could think of is that, like, what I noticed in this episode is that Deanna seemed to be always explaining how the minds of Betazoids worked, and I think she was also learning about it. It looks like the Betazoids don't share knowledge about medical science, perhaps, which is something I've noticed a lot in Star Trek. Is like a lot of times, Andorians are like the Klingons, for example, in Star Trek 6. I know they were the enemies, so it makes more sense in that in that setting.
Oh no, of course.
But Dr. McCoy doesn't know anything about Klingon anatomy. But one could think that now that we live in a truly digital age, it's easier to imagine that even though Klingons don't share their medical knowledge, you can still get that medical knowledge. Like, it's got to be in the Klingon databanks or whatever. I think there should have been a line in the episode to agree with what you were saying, where Dr. Crusher's like, we're still waiting for the upload from Betazoid to come in to the computer system, so I haven't had a chance to study Betazoid physiology. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree that would have been neat. But that's my explanation.
I accept your explanation.
Yay! Excellent. So this was a lot of fun. Gary, do you mind taking a moment to catch the audience up with what you're doing creatively and plug your websites so that I can remember to put them in the description below?
Oh, there's too much pressure on me. It's like this is
CreativeTrekkie.com.
Okay, so the creativetrekkie.com is only gonna be...
Is that the correct?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
At the moment it is creativetrekkie.com. It's available up till the 3rd of January, and then it's gonna be discontinued for good. It's behind the scene is going through a bit of a rehash at the moment. It's not gonna be called Creative Trekkie anymore, but that has some reasons. But that's mainly for my professional side to...
Are we allowed to know what your professional... Do you already know what the next name is going to be, or are you gonna? Is that coming soon? Like you'll do an announcement?
Well, the website is almost 95% ready already.
Okay, got it. All right, so we'll save that.
We saved that for later. I think it's probably going to be available later on in 2020. Because hosting costs a bit of money, so I have to sort that out first, and we have traveling happening next year as well. So that's something that we're saving up for at the moment. In terms of tracker price, the site is still there. It's still available. It's gonna be available for a long time.
Excellent.
That's something I started. That was the very first thing that I started doing in 2016, I think. 3-4 years ago almost, and that was way before a couple of months before I started YouTubing, and I just can't. That has to be there. That will be there, and then it will be more interactive in the future, hopefully, because I'm planning to be more active on the website.
Excellent.
In the future. And in terms of as far as the channel goes, I'm not going into too many details. Changes are gonna be taking place in terms of format, in terms of the amount of videos that I'm going to publish, but there's going to be new things as well.
Very cool. Are you still following the Orville? Are you excited about the premiere on Hulu? Or however,
I don't have Hulu, but
okay.
I try to skip spoilers these days, so I'll stop following like what's happening with Picard. I stop following what's happening with Orville, and I think that lately it just came down to the fact there haven't been a lot of spoilers for Star Trek Picard. No one really. I don't think anyone. I don't think
knows
anything
what's
was really on. I mean, I know the comic books are sneaking out here and there, saying that, oh, we have an Enterprise in the comics, and then Geordi is there, and then there's a few things from the comics that not necessarily a spoiler, because that's just like a prequel. Well, it's in a sense it's a spoiler, but prequel. I'm not sure what the comics actually count for the movies in a sense. The canon police gonna show up soon. Seeing like, hey, yeah.
Sean has an interesting canon police character.
Yeah, I know. No, so I'm not sure what's gonna happen with on that side, but yeah, in terms of Orville, I did not follow up on anything recently. I'm kind of blocking myself out from getting spoiled. I want to be surprised now. I want to enjoy it when it comes out.
Are you watching? Have you ever did you ever get into The Expanse, or are you watching The Mandalorian?
I watched the first episode of Mandalorian, which I really enjoyed. I'm aware of the lots of Baby Yoda things, which is super adorable, and I've seen so much creative things online, which is awesome. And I haven't really got into watching the following episodes, but I think I need to get back to that too. And The Expanse, I know Sean was keep telling me to watch it, and I kept like delaying it. I think I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, not really my cup of tea. But no, the last couple of months I was watching documentaries a lot. Like I watched BBC Planet Earth 2, which is absolutely mind blowing, and currently I'm watching 7 Worlds, 1 Planet. Which again,
I've seen a few of your. I think I saw a tweet or something about that.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful and it's heart wrenching and it's so emotional. I mean, I never imagined.
7 Worlds, 1 Planet. It's called 7 Worlds.
7 Worlds, 1 Planet. Available in BBC iPlayer.
And so I'm assuming So I'm assuming they go from continent to because there are also 7 continents, right? So
they covered
each of the worlds.
Antarctic, North America, South America. They travel. They cover Europe, Australia, and
India
and Asia, Eurasia. I think Asia. Yeah, something Asian.
Actually, India is a subcontinent, so Asia would be the continent.
Yeah, it's like the
Right.
Asian territory. So it's from Russia down to China and India and all the surrounding countries. But it's a beautiful series and quite frightening as well at many points. I never had an experience when I was literally getting so emotional in a documentary. Like it's just crazy. It's crazy good. I'm not sure whoever's gonna
Wow.
listen to this this part because it might be boring for some people, but go out and watch Blue Planet, Blue Planet 2 and Seven Worlds, One Planet, because it's just
All right.
breathtaking.
Well, I'm gonna say that we are gonna end our official portion of our conversation now because I've got to feed my cat. But we can keep hanging out after if you want. If you're not in a hurry to go away, and we can keep
Yeah, I
hanging
can
out.
still
But
leave a little
audience, awesome. Audience, live long. Wait, wrong hand. Audience, live long and prosper, and we'll see you next time. Whoa, where are you, audience? Oh, there you are. We'll see you next time. All right, I'm stopping the recording.